Welcome to Career Ambitions, the podcast for corporate professionals who are ready to stop waiting and take control of their careers. If you're tired of sending applications into the void, wondering why you're not getting interviews, and watching opportunities go to people who are no more qualified than you, you're in the right place, my friends. I'm Joanne Sparrow, former HR director turned career coach, and I've spent more than 2 decades sitting on the other side of the hiring table. That means I know exactly what hiring managers think and what they say behind closed doors. Join me on this episode of Career Ambitions, where I'm pulling back the curtains on the hiring process and unapologetically exposing the truths job seekers are never told to give you the strategy and confidence to move your career forward and land your dream job or promotion. Welcome, Deb. How are you? I'm so glad we're here together today.
I'm great, Joanne. Thanks. This is really fun. I'm glad we're able to spend some time connecting and talking a little bit about the marketplace.
I have been so excited, just anticipating this conversation with you, and I'm really excited. So, just a little bit of background about you and our relationship. We've known each other probably 20 years, and you've been with Robert Half International for all of those years, almost 30 years, I think, the last time we chatted. And you're currently the managing director of talent solutions. So I'm sure you're going to share with the audience a ton of valuable insights from Robert Half perspective and the reports that you have access to and studies. So maybe just you could tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, it's exciting that we've known each other for over 20 years. And our relationship is very much aligned with my professional storyline, which is a career span in talent solutions, partnering not only with organizations that are looking for great talent, but also with professionals that are
Mm.
looking at career transitions. And so it's been an exciting journey working in this marketplace, helping people find great career opportunities. And I know you and I had an opportunity to meet first when you were a Robert Half client many years ago.
My
It's
gosh,
come
yeah,
full circle.
it sure has. Wow. Boy, the time has flown by, right?
It has for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's dive in. Let's start by talking about with your experience across multiple and a variety of job market cycles. What feels different about this current market we're in today?
Well, I think we just cannot deny the impact that AI is having on today's workplace. It's just having such a pervasive impact on all aspects. We've got organizations that have introduced AI tools as a part of their recruitment strategy, their screening. Um, but it's also having them readjust the roles that they have available within their organization. And so there's
Mhm.
this different view to what talent and skills do we need to evolve our organization. And so that's having a real impact on the marketplace,
Mhm.
and a direct impact on employees that are looking for career opportunities, because we've got everybody sort of adjusting to this new technology place we're in, and how do I fit into that, and how do I properly showcase my skill sets to align with new roles that are being created by organizations. And so we're in this state of transition that really has a lot of people, stopping and reevaluating their approach, whether they're looking for work or whether they're hiring for talent in their organization. So I think that is the most pervasive factor that we're seeing right now, is just how it's reshaping the workplace.
Mhm. And for many job seekers, it's been incredibly frustrating just with the volume of applicants that they're competing with and then competing with AI generated resumes. I mean, they're all starting to look the same.
Well, it is very frustrating because it's a situation where you want to leverage the tools
Mhm.
so that you can compete in a market that is leveraging the tools. But there's a balance, because if you overplay that hand, what ends up happening is your submission isn't authentic. And so it may
Yes.
not be an accurate reflection of your skills and experience. And so it's about trying to strike that balance. And
Hmm.
so it is creating frustration, because people don't really know how best to navigate. Um, and we are also seeing in the marketplace more shifts happening because of the changes that are being made within organizations. We've obviously seen organizations restructure, and so there's great talent on the marketplace, and people finding themselves in this place of transition longer than maybe they've experienced before. And so that has an impact on our confidence, and has us again taking the step back to reevaluate, how do I tackle this in the most
Yes.
productive way.
Yes. And how do I stand out in the market, in a crowded market, right?
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
crowded, it's highly competitive, and so you really do have to have a multifaceted approach to your search.
Yes. So the old way of applying and simply waiting for a call, that does not work anymore. That is not a strategy.
It's the path that's creating a lot of frustration for people in the marketplace, understandably.
Hmm.
Um, because unfortunately, these tools are screening out great people.
Yeah. Yeah. Recruitment firms are a great resource for job seekers. I know, I think it was probably in the last 6 months, I actually got a call from a recruiter. Whether it was Robert Howe, I'm not sure, but I was in their system from years ago,
Ah,
and my profile popped up in their search, and well, I had to decline the opportunity to interview because I'm not looking for work. I'm
yeah.
pivoted obviously to career coaching, but for any job seekers out there, it's super important to be connected to recruiters and get in the system.
It's a great way to just create additional pathways,
Hmm.
and also to talk to people that are in the market, that are seeing some of the trends as they're shifting and changing real time. And so seeking out that support is something that I would recommend for anyone. I think this isn't the time to go it alone. You've got to seek out resources and people that have broader connections than maybe you would have to help support that search. And obviously you and I are talking, and you're playing a critical role helping to support individuals in their career transition. And so seeking out mentors and people that have expertise that you can leverage, I think that's part of the game. It
Hmm.
really is.
Yes, yes. So from your perspective, looking at your teams, the recruiters on your team and in the divisions doing the work, um, how are they feeling about random DMs from job seekers saying they've applied, they're interested in chatting? Like they must be inundated with.
There's a lot of volume for sure, and obviously they do their very best to reach out and connect with everyone that is incoming. There is volume, and
Hmm.
so it can be challenging, but that's the business we're in. And so
Yeah.
we welcome conversations. We want to be proactive to help support everyone in their journey. And so I guess that the caveat I would say is, as a job seeker, is just don't take it personally if you don't get
Yes.
an immediate response, because it is a volume consideration. But that's what we do, is we're
Mm.
here to help support, and we're speaking with a lot of people every day, and we do our very best to align job seekers with great opportunities in the marketplace. And so um, yeah, I think it's just about understanding that there is volume, and we are hearing from a high volume of people.
Can you tell us what Robert Half's current data is telling us about hiring and salary expectations and particularly employer confidence?
So, I mean, there's a lot of great opportunities available in the marketplace. If you look at some of the data, it would support that in professional services. So whether it's accounting and finance or technology, marketing and creative, human resources, there's demand across all of those facets of the workplace. Despite organizations leveraging tools like AI to create efficiencies, we still hear from employers that they're challenged to find great talent. And much of that has to do with some of the specialized skill sets that they're seeking that may not currently exist within their organization. So there's opportunities to be leveraged in the marketplace. Um, the process to hire is longer than we've seen historically,
Mm.
because there is some conservatism around decision making, because organizations are involving more key stakeholders in that process, because a lot of the roles they're hiring for may be new to the organization. And so there's a little more consideration going into the process. And there is adjustment to the tools that are being leveraged. So, I mean, there's plenty of opportunities out there. It's just honing in on the ones that are right for you. So I'm very encouraged by what we're seeing in the marketplace. There's optimism around opportunity. It's just the pathway to find that right fit is in some cases taking a little bit longer. Um, I think that there was a period of time where we saw compensation really spiking. There was sort of this post-COVID period of time where we did see organizations, out of a necessity to bring in great talent, making some pretty extreme adjustments to compensation. I think that's leveled out. And
Mm.
so organizations are mindful, budgets may not be
Yes.
all that they've been before. So they're trying to balance their ability to attract great talent, provide that talent with competitive market compensation, but also mindful of the budget that they have to work with. And so, that's created a bit more of a level playing field in the market as far as compensation. And then there's also tremendous mindfulness around pay equity,
Hmm.
to make sure that what organizations are offering incoming talent is consistent and aligned with what is being provided internally from an organizational standpoint. Um, I think the move towards pay transparency in the market has been a game changer and very positive, both for
Yes.
job seekers and for hiring managers. It's helped to create this transparency that has somewhat eliminated what I think all parties in the hiring process found to be a challenge is,
Mm.
if I'm searching for a role, I can hone in on the ones that are aligned with my salary expectations. And so I don't find myself midway through a process wondering, am
Right.
I aligned? Have I invested now a couple of interview steps and now have to overcome this awkward conversation around compensation? We know up front. So I
Yes.
think that's a tremendous step forward. And I know hiring managers are happy with that progress, because likewise, you want to make sure that you're engaging candidates into your process that are a fit, not only for some of the things that you're looking for from a skill-based perspective, cultural, but also that it aligns from a compensation standpoint.
Hmm.
So I think we're in a better place with that now.
I agree 100%. That was long overdue.
Long overdue, long overdue.
Okay. What are the resume or LinkedIn mistakes that cause qualified candidates to get overlooked?
So, I mean, you have to treat your LinkedIn profile as a form of your resume. It's your external brand to the marketplace. And so it says a lot about who you are and what it is that you have to offer the job market. And so I do see um, candidates who are putting tremendous time and attention into the resume, but forgetting about the LinkedIn profile. And so the LinkedIn profile is, that's sort of the first message that you're sending to the marketplace. And so
Yes.
just making sure that it's robust, that you are showcasing your professional work experience, but you're highlighting your skills that are going to be drawn upon in any searches that are happening from organizations or recruitment professionals, that you're highlighting where you've done some volunteer work, or maybe where you have um, you know, been a part of associations outside of your professional work experience. And so I do see gaps still with that. And so I think that's kind of a quick win, is to get in there. And LinkedIn can provide you some really great ideas of how you can polish that, but get another set of eyes on it, because I have conversations every week with job seekers who maybe just miss some of the basic things they can do to really elevate their profile. And so get another set of eyes on your LinkedIn profile. I think that can go a long, long way. And then the resume, the challenge with the resume is it really does need to be somewhat customized to the roles that you're applying to. And so I do find that if we're just using one generic resume, it may not provide some of the nuance or customization required for some of the roles that you're applying to. And so it does become a bit of this fluid process of just sort of, shaping the view of your resume to align with where you're applying. So there is a lot of work involved, which is why I say, like, get some help.
Yes. Well, and that's one of the big components of my coaching program is your LinkedIn profile, optimizing it, and then leveraging the platform for networking and finding those hidden opportunities and connections. There is so much hesitation to use LinkedIn. I understand it for those folks that are currently in a soul crushing job looking, but don't want their employer to know they're looking. So there's that challenge. But for folks that are not currently working, there really is a ton of value in the platform. And you're right, it's your digital billboard, and whether you're owning your brand or not, you have a brand out there. So you
Yeah.
might as well embrace it so that you attract hiring managers, recruiters.
Well, and I also think that even if you are working, um, I think
Th-
it's just part of our professional brand. And so we should be updating that with projects and
Yes.
initiatives that we're involved in, that are evolving continuously. So I think the other thing that I see is that someone's maybe been with an organization for a long time. And so what they originally set that profile up to look like years ago is what it looks like today. And so it's not evolving
Mhm.
and reflecting a lot of the things that are happening within your organization today. And so, I think when you're working, you are reflecting not only your personal brand, but the brand of the organization that you're working for. So I think it should be a continuous process.
Yes, you always want that to be evolving, and your resume really should be very similar. I wouldn't say mirror, but it should be very similar because I've questioned to when I've looked at candidates in the past, why is there such a variance from their resume to their LinkedIn profile?
Absolutely.
It does cause red flags, and so
For sure.
your resume should mirror. Sorry, not mirror. Should look very similar to your LinkedIn profile. And that LinkedIn profile, you can take it even further when the about section, add in things that, write about your career story and your accomplishments and those measurable results that employers want to see, because recruiters are trusting resumes less and less because there's so much
Well,
AI use with them.
and what's happening is employers are literally receiving resumes that are almost identical in their presentation because there's an overutilization of AI in that process. So it's about moderation. It's not about an embellishment of your experience that just brings us to a place where it's no longer the reality. because that may get you the interview. It may, but then ultimately that becomes exposed through the process. So
Mm.
anything that you're putting in LinkedIn, anything that is going on a resume, it's got to reflect your reality. And so, AI should help us to, capture the essence of our experience. It really shouldn't be used to, to modify the
Yes,
reality.
yes, exactly. Okay, so Deb, what should job seekers do beyond applying online? We talked about LinkedIn, but what do your teams respond well to and not to when job seekers are reaching out to have coffee conversations?
So, you know what? I think there's a few things that can be really helpful. Is first of all, I think as a job seeker, you want to spend some time creating your own personal go-to-market strategy.
Mm.
So be clear on the type of role that you're interested in, the organizations and industries that align with your experience and your interests, so that you're somewhat targeted and focused. I think that that's important. It also allows you to maybe identify the organizations in your marketplace that really do effectively align with what you can offer. And so I encourage people that even without a posting online, to send some expressed notes of interest to stakeholders within those organizations. So to the extent that you can make those connections proactively, you might even find that when you start to do that research, that there could even be people in the organization that you may even know through your network. And
Yes.
so leveraging that in a very focused and strategic way can be very helpful. And then also conveying that when you're working in partnership with a recruitment professional, because if you have a list of 10 or more organizations in your marketplace and you come prepared with that list and have a conversation with the recruitment professional, they may say, hey, Joanne, I actually know someone that works in that
Mm.
organization. I'd be very happy to reach out proactively to express your interest in joining that organization. So I think that shows a level of investment in your journey. It also can help the role of the recruitment professional to hone in and be very targeted as you partner together. So I think that can be very helpful. I'm also very encouraging of people to just think more broadly about your personal network. This is a time and place where you will find that people who know you personally will be very open to helping you in your job search. And so sometimes we forget about people we know and where they work and the roles they're in and how they may be able to bridge a gap and help you make connections. So I think we're in a world where we want to leverage those connections and reach out and see, do they maybe know someone, and not be afraid to ask, because I think there is a broad understanding of how competitive the marketplace is today.
Mhm.
And so people will be willing to help you. So don't be afraid to ask. I think that's very, very important. Um, but I think just, putting the time and focus into preparing yourself um, to put your best foot forward. And so if you're reaching out to a recruitment professional, they're really going to appreciate that you've done a little bit of due diligence, that you've thought through where you want to work and how you feel that your skills and experience align with the organizations that you want to work for. So just showing that extra time and attention to prepare for the interview process is something that's going to really set you apart
Mhm.
from the candidates in the market that are just sort of sending out applications en masse to roles, whether they truly align or not. I think that's
Yes.
a big differentiator.
Yes, I would agree. And I've seen candidates where, um, it's one thing to be 60, 70, 80% qualified to do a job and apply, but I've seen candidates with a huge disconnect. So I think, taking try to think of the job posting when you're looking at it, at the job posting, compare your resume to it, and through a critical lens, and not a resume that's AI generated so that it looks like you're capable of doing the job. There's so many um, that's part of the problem. And sorry, I'm going to cut that out. I'm just rambling right
That's
now.
okay.
So
That's okay.
I lost my train of thought here. So let's move on to the next
But I was
question.
going to
Wait.
say, Joanne, that I do think that when we're applying to roles that are misaligned
Mm.
with our experience, that is also what is creating some of the clog in the system.
Yes.
So it's creating an abundance of volume for employers and for recruitment professionals because it's time spent exploring a match that doesn't exist. So I think it's important that we all play a really responsible role in the process to make sure that we're applying to positions that truly are aligned with our skills and experience. And then those touch points and connections become much more meaningful and impactful.
Yes, I agree with that. So Robert Half is a global organization in multiple different industry sectors, and you recruit at all levels.
We do.
How are recruiters helping those senior professionals get past the ageism challenge?
Well, you know what? So first of all, I think that is absolutely a responsibility of employers to ensure that they have guardrails in place to avoid for these biases in their hiring process. And so I think there's tremendous responsibility that exists with employers who are leveraging tools to ensure that there is human involvement early enough in the process, um, and to make sure that they are drawing from a very diverse and talented pool of candidates. So I think it's important to note that there's a tremendous responsibility that sits with the employer in this process.
Mm.
I think from a candidate perspective, my advice is to focus on the things that we can control. And so, regardless of your level of experience or your age, hone in on the things that you can really bring that are of tremendous value to the organization. Talk about how you effectively interact with all people across the organization. So preparing to
Mm.
share examples of how you have effectively collaborated with all generations within the workplace, I think is an important piece because organizations are looking to create collaborative teams.
Yeah.
And so if you're able to really showcase how you have effectively collaborated with various stakeholders within your prior organizations, different cohorts, whether that's ages, different departments, these are things that are really important today. Because the one thing that I would say is very top of mind for organizations, it's, how do we stay very focused on the human side of our business at a time when technology is really leading our strategy. And so I believe that the people that are going to really stand out in the hiring process um, are the ones that are really able to showcase their ability to connect with people,
Mm.
their ability to navigate change, their ability to think strategically about how might we do things differently. Those soft skills, irregardless of your level of experience, are what employers are looking for today to evolve their organization. So I think just focus in on that. There are going to be things that as job seekers, we just do not have control over, but we can control how we show up. We can control how we really effectively showcase our soft skills. And I think that's the way to win in this marketplace.
Yeah. And, articulating that your soft skills, transferable skills in your career story is what can get you the job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So don't place limitations on yourself also,
Yes.
because I think some of the things that we know may be obstacles can get in our way. And so just find a way to work around that.
Yeah.
And I think that can go a really long way.
I still continue my fractional HR work. I want to stay close to current events in HR, what's happening in the marketplace, particularly in recruitment and talent. And one of my clients, I posted two jobs, and very similar, but one was a senior role. Posted them the same day. Within 48 hours, I had about 1,200 applicants, and the posting did say hybrid in downtown Toronto. A lot of the applicants were not even in Ontario, so I was able to filter out by geographical location. But even then, after filtering down, I was at about 500 between the two jobs. I didn't have time to go through all 500 applicants. It was a real challenge. So that's just one example of the sheer volume.
Hmm.
And then at that point, it becomes, I go through the candidates and the ones that are screened or not screened until I get to a good number of candidates to screen, and then we go from there. So there was likely, and I don't know how many candidates I didn't even see because of the volume. It's very can be very unmanageable.
It definitely can be unmanageable. And we want to do our best to connect with
Mhm.
everyone, but the sheer volume can be truly unmanageable at times.
Yep. Yeah. Well, Debbie, this has been a fantastic conversation. Is there any last comments or thoughts that you could share with the audience, particularly job seekers in today's market?
Well, I mean, I just want to actually thank you, Joanne, for taking the time to have this conversation because I think this is what job seekers are seeking is insights into how best to navigate what it can be a very challenging job market for them. And so professionals like you who have years of experience and insights to share can be very helpful role models to professionals at all levels throughout their career.
Mhm.
You know, I speak with very experienced professionals who have found themselves in this market for the first time in sometimes 10 or more years. And they're struggling and their confidence is affected. And so I just encourage people that find themselves in those transitions to reach out for guidance and support and mentorship. Um, and sometimes it can be, you know, a couple of little nuggets
Mhm.
that you glean from a conversation
Yes.
with someone like you that has years of experience and who's, you know, really dialed into the trends that we're seeing in the marketplace that can just give you that extra lift in your search. That idea that gets you the next interview. So I think just, you know what, if you're in the market and you're in transition and you're feeling frustrated, take a step back, evaluate what have you done thus far and make small adjustments
Yes.
and seek out help. And those small adjustments can make all the difference. And hang in there because you're not alone. I think that's the other thing is, you're not alone and that right opportunity will come your way.
It will. And I believe we all land where we're meant to be.
I totally agree. You know, I always think what's for you won't go by you, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So just stay the course and stay positive and stay proactive. Those are the
Yes.
keys.
Yeah.
Those are truly the keys. But this has been great, Joanne. Thanks so much for inviting the conversation. I would welcome an opportunity to chat again.
It's been fantastic. Thank you so much, Deb.
Thank you so much for listening to Career Ambitions. If this episode gave you a new perspective, a practical takeaway, or even a little spark of confidence you needed, I would love for you to follow the show and leave a review. And if you're an ambitious corporate professional who's ready to stop guessing and start moving with a clear strategy, I would love to invite you to my masterclass. Inside this masterclass, I teach the exact strategies my clients are using to land their dream jobs. You can learn more about the masterclass in the show notes or at joannesparrow.com. See you in the next episode of Career Ambitions.